All right, folks. Looks like we are finally live, hopefully at the URL that we wanted it to be. Sorry, folks, we had a last minute technical difficulty. OBS stopped seeing the stream key and I could not get it to reboot. This unfortunately cans out on a number of things that I was going to show you and demonstrate as far as the deck, but maybe I'll just do that the old-fashioned way, manually. This is not how I intended it to happen or intended it to unfold. Unfortunately, though, software sometimes gets in the way. It was repeatedly tested as early as this morning, and it's unfortunate because I had a lot of fun stuff I was going to unveil in a fashion in a show, as you may have remembered from the Trash Sexy starter. So here we are. We're going to talk about the Journeys deck tonight. So this has been a year in the making. There are several people working on this project, just making sure that I am in fact being seen on the correct URL. I'm going to check something out here on another browser. Oh, there we go. All right, people see me. Good. So yeah, I was very frustrating. About 10 minutes ago, I said, all right, I'm going to start the pre-roll. I had a whole pre-roll video set up. Pre-roll didn't work. That was rather annoying, rather frustrating. So thanks for anyone tuning in. People will be probably filtering in and out. This is not going to be an exceptionally long stream, but thanks for coming. So the Journeys deck started out with a proposal from Adam Lonergan about a year and a half ago now to create something to publish through Fox and Board Games, and he pitched this this card deck that would help game masters and possibly even storytellers facilitate a story. And I said, well, okay. I said, that's great. As anyone who does any of this can attest, people have a lot of great ideas. But I said, let's see some ideas. Let's see some concrete samples of it. So over the next month, this was actually before April. So by the end of April, he had created a significant number of prototype cards, at least in a fillable template format. And I took a read through them and I said, I've been in this world a very long time, and I'm always like, well, yeah, maybe this will work. Maybe this will be interesting. Maybe it won't. And then when I took a read through the templates and I kind of mentally started putting together how it worked, I was pretty thrilled with it. So I said, okay, well, let's embark on this. Let's start on this. And just to be clear, the only thing I've done here is essentially advertise, promote, do the layout and design on the initial prototype deck, which you may have seen at conventions last year. Very quick prototype with internet art just to get the idea out there. And what I decided to do then was we did a few playtests at conventions. I ran this prototype by several other people. And in the meantime, I connected with Lisanne Lake, who I've known probably 30 years now, who is an extremely well-known artist. Now, unfortunately, I can't screen share on this, on the YouTube alone. And as I said, I don't know what happened with OBS because I tested it 3 times last week, and I just tested it this morning before I went to my day job, and sure enough, I get home and it's not interfacing. So yeah, I did help with some magic items just to get them out and rolling. But the bulk of the writing and the bulk of the content creation, unlike everything else at Fox and Board Games, and the URL is plastered all over this channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, that would be www.foxandboardgames.com. Is largely what I've done, and except for Tara Clapper has also contributed quite a bit as far as some really interesting non-traditional RPG content. And but to continue on with this, we got the Journeys deck rolling, and I decided to somewhere around September to start talking to both Lisanne, and then she turned me on to Nicole Lopez, who is our graphic designer. And I began working with the two of them, talking about art and talking about design for this deck and layouts for this deck. Now, it's no secret I can do a lot of this, but I simply can't do all of it myself and do everything else. And in the meantime, I get my own work done, which I have released quite a few things this past summer. If you've been following, you know there's quite a bit of stuff out there now. So the deck in its final form at this point, well, the deck in its form at this point, not the final form, is just some of the prototype cards that you've seen pictures of on the social media and on the marketing and on the advertising. And I'll show you a couple of these here. Now, Lisanne Lake is a veteran artist who has done, I'll go to her website right now, who has done more in the RPG and adjacent art world than most people will ever do in their life with anything. And as I said, I unfortunately cannot screen share the work. And I'm going to take a look. I don't know if you want to give me any more CV info, Lysander background info, but I know you've done work for a number of card games, a number of RPG products, tarot decks. I remember we talked early on, book covers for this wide range of genre over many years of work. And if you've seen popular fantasy art, particularly in the RPG or particularly in the card game world, you've seen her work. Now, about the time that we met up, she was doing Deadlands, the Doomtown card game artwork, which of course I was thrilled with, and I even got to cameo in one of the cards, being killed in a saloon fight for cheating. So Doomtown, Legends of the Five Rings, Buckland Romani Tarot, Dragon Magazine, so many. Yeah, she's literally done more than I will ever remember. And she had done that much when I met her many years ago, and now there's even more. So she's a veteran artist, and she's crafting some very unique art for this deck. And I think that's part of what I want to get across too, that first of all of this is written and created by humans. There is no artificial intelligence or other material like that being used. We are over 200 book covers. Yeah, just this vast array of work in the fantasy sci-fi territory. And it's a thrill to have someone of her caliber and of her renown and sheer wealth of knowledge of this world on board. Yes, she's very human. And all right, it's very human. So we've been putting this together piece by piece with the final prototypes approved. The final prototypes for the demo cards, for the promotional cards, approved somewhere around March or April, about a year after the initial process started, if I remember correctly. There's been a lot going on. It's been a blur. So then I got these out to DriveThruRPG, and oh no, I'm sorry, no, these were home printed. I haven't DriveThruRPG'd anything yet. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I haven't DriveThruRPG'd anything. So these are some of the cards right here. Let's just show you one of my favorites, the Minotaur. As you know, if you know me, again, these are hand printed. These are done on a color laser. This is not necessarily the final form of these cards, by the way. But this is a very close approximation to the format that you will see at the end. I have an entire demo video. There are 2 videos coming that Maeve has been essential in this process. Maeve is in the process of getting married out on the West Coast within the next couple days. So I don't know if she made it onto the stream tonight, but she is our promotion, PR, advertising, social media. She just redid the fantastic Fox and Board Games website. So she also did 2 video interviews with Adam in which he talks about the cards and gives us a little more background and insight into his process. Those will be on the Kickstarter and on this YouTube link. hopefully within the next couple weeks, if not sooner. I know they are in progress, and I will talk more about these individual cards and what their role are. And since Adam is here, he can possibly fill me in if I misspeak. Again, I did not do the vast bulk of content creation here. But this is the basic look and layout of the cards, the front and the back. We have some wonderful NPCs. I had this all done digitally, this wonderful reveal and layout and digital demo. I guess we'll be doing it live. There is a demo video that I did just using these cards as the basis. So as we see, there's 2 decks that are going to be involved in the Kickstarter here. The Ancient Woods deck and the Underground. And here's one of my favorites. I might even get some t-shirts made of this. The Menacing Manticore. And again, Lysandra's crafted all this art. Some of it is work that may have appeared in some form before, but the vast bulk of it is shaping up to be original content for this deck. The Warg's one of my favorites, but I always like the monsters. Yeah, that's why I first got into this. I saw the old Monster Manual, first edition, in a bookstore at some place. And that's what kind of obsessed me, because I was obsessed with Greek mythology. So these are just a small percentage of the cards. Oh, sorry, I didn't show the back to that. Of the cards that we already have underway. And as I said, just please keep in mind these were home printed and cut. So the final are going to be professionally produced. None of this is going to be shipped to you from my basement on my color printer after I charge you printing costs. I don't do it that way. Quest cards, so that's fairly interesting. And again, I'm going to talk about the various types of cards and how, at least in my perception, they go together and work. I'm glad people can actually see it and hear it. I got really panicked at about 10 of. I was all relaxed. I'm like, oh, I still have time. Let me just start the pre-roll. And OBS didn't work. We had a similar issue for the Trash Sexy Kickstarter with StreamYard. And I think it is a, what would I say? It's a stream key issue that we had to refresh the stream key, but we were too close to time. I did not want to delay this process any further. So that's the basics of the history of the cards, the layout of the cards, and what you can expect visually and layout. So let's talk a little bit about how these all work together. And this has been something that I've been trying to kind of nail down in my own mind. And I've talked to Adam a little bit about it, like how these are actually employed. And I think to the best of my knowledge, I have an approximation. As I said, there's a demo video that I've made doing this exact thing that will be on the Kickstarter when it launches in 15 minutes or thereabouts. It's going to be a short stream. So there's a couple ways to start with these cards. And from what I understand, if you need a full quest, these can be used for either a side quest or for a full adventure. If you just want to start with a quest, there are quest cards. Ancient Map is one of the ones that we have drawn up. Now, the flavor text in the front is just to give you an idea of the tone, and you can read that aloud to your players. And then on the back, there's information. For example, on the quest card, it has things like location. It has a location icon that corresponds to the location cards. So here would be a location card, a placid lake, and there's nothing required here. So if you want to add a location, it can be any location. We could start with the placid lake, or there was one I really liked using in this when I was kind of playing around with them. Let's see. The placid lake's fine. We can use the placid lake. And also the quest card gives you the sorts of monsters that are recommended. Now, just to be clear, and I'll probably say this 2 or 3 more times today, but these decks are meant to be used with any fantasy RPG. They are system agnostic. We are not providing statistics for you. And even so, like when we say, menacing manticore, and we have a level approximation on the back of the menacing manticore, that can be substituted with any monsters in your game, in your world, in your schema that you think would make sense. Same thing with the awakened shrub. So it's a case where we are not using this as an overall refining structure. We want this to be a starting point for you to tell your stories. And that's one thing I've kind of kept drilling on any feedback I've given. Just keep in mind, we want players to be able to use this as a starting point in the way they're going to tell their stories. So, there's a little quest prompt. The ancient map can be used to create a trail that the PCs follow at their leisure. It's not a timed quest. It's not something, it's an exploration-based quest. And find the final location and attain the legendary treasure. That's the goal of the quest card. So you would start out by next laying down a location. So let's look at the Placid Lake, which I think is the one I use in the demo video where I do this exact thing. So the Placid Lake has a description in the front, and then a little bit of GM info up here on the back that you read aloud. Then it has icons. It has icons that indicate what other kind of cards you should pull up. Now, a big question has arisen, even among us and among people who have looked at this. So do you shuffle these all together and pull them? Do you lay them out and structure them according to a stack of monsters? There are going to be 60 cards in the deck, by the way, broken up roughly into numbers equivalent to the different categories. And the categories that we have right now are your NPCs, your monsters, creatures, which we use generically as monsters and natural animals, your loot, which includes everything from pittance, such as gold, a few gold coins, to things like magic swords. We have the locations, and we don't have any of the forest ones printed, but we also have encounters. And encounters are events that have to be negotiated, aren't necessarily monsters. So the way I'm envisioning this working is that you'd have the cards by category laid out in front of you, or you know where they are. They're at your hand. And on the location card, it says, okay, so possible draws are NPC, beast, monster, treasure. Do the locales an NPC use the lake for fishing? So if you have an NPC, or if you want to take an NPC from the card deck, then you could have that character be there, such as Ichabod Lasson. Maybe Ichabod Lasson's hanging out at the lake and is fishing, and they would meet him and interact with him. And then you would develop the story from there. Or if you want even more detail, another layer of detail, which I actually like this approach when I was reading through it last week. What kind of beasts or monsters live in and around the lake? So I thought it was kind of cool. I was like, maybe the Awakened Shrub. I think the name has been changed to Sneaky Shrub, which I like better. Awakened Plant, which I think is now a Sneaky Shrub. But the Sneaky Shrub is, an animated plant. If you're playing Pathfinder, it could be a Leshy. It could be something like that. It could be something approximate to that. There are plenty of analogs in other games. Again, you could be playing RuneQuest and have an Awakened Plant. In fact, in RuneQuest, I forget. No, that's ElfQuest. Sorry, or it's RuneQuest where the elves are animated plants. In any case, you could have an Awakened Plant, and the Awakened Plant can act as a guardian for a specific mystic location, and that could be the Placid Lake. So that gives you a little more information about the Placid Lake. Maybe it's a mystic location. And then it could be specific NPCs to act as allies. So let's pull up one of my favorites that has been created so far of the NPCs, Vika Velosti, a druid. So this could be her animal companion, or a plant companion in this case. And perhaps they also guard some kind of treasure. So there could be some kind of treasure in the lake, as indicated by the back of the card. Yes, RuneQuest. RuneQuest is where the elves are basically awakened plants. And then you have Kavarian Blade. And the Kavarian Blade does come with system agnostic properties and suggestions. And much like the monsters, there is absolutely no reason why you can't make this a +3 long sword if you're playing the game, or a flame brand of striking, or whatever you'd like to do. But it does give you some ideas for this item in the back. So if you need an item on the fly, You just pick it up, you can read it, and then elaborate from there. And I've noticed in a lot of the newer games I've picked up, there is less discussion of rules and more discussion of rulings. And it's meant to be a more spontaneous sort of game. But so the Placid Lake, one of the goals listed at the Placid Lake, or one of the situations of the Placid Lake is, are you going to cross the lake to another location? So maybe the GM then looks at all of this and decides Vika Velocity is going to have to be negotiated with. And maybe her plant is going to have to be used in assistance with her to help the PCs cross the lake if they don't have another way. Maybe they have to defeat the awakened plant, and that draws the ire of Vika Velocity. And what happens when they cross the Placid Lake? Do they then come to the Yawning Cavern? And then the process starts over. Now, you could start your draws with any of these cards. Like, let's just say you want a unique NPC, and you pull out Ichabod Lasson and go from there. We can switch decks. I can show you a couple other decks. I can show you an encounter card. These cards, by the way, are just kind of placeholders for the top of the deck. So, for example, in the Underground deck, you could just start by pulling the Ferocious Fungi, which is your violet fungus. Because of copyright reasons, we avoided the name violet fungus. So we have the first treasures that it has, and this is a non-intelligent creature, so it's only got a pittance and a forgotten pack. And then there's some description about the card, most unusual form of life, etc. Discusses then the PCs have a survival expert who might be able to know something about the fungi. These are all details that are provided on the back of the card. You can see some of these in a larger form when the Kickstarter launches. A survival expert may be able to come up with properties, may be able to do different things with this fungi. Maybe it's not just a monster. Maybe it's not just something that is there to cause you problems. Maybe there's something the players have to harvest off of it. One of the other favorites that I found in this particular set of samples that we created is the Encounter Daylight. So encounter cards are sometimes called as a draw, in that there's light coming from a hard to reach spot. Maybe there's an NPC or monster using the light source for something, as indicated by the back of the card, prompted by the back of the card. And does the light potentially lead to a surface area, a new location? So that would prompt you to draw another location. So what the decks really are a series of generative prompts. That's how I've been describing it to people in card form. We've had a lot of discussion as to the mathematics of this and if there's going to be an actual system at any point that allows you to use the deck almost as its own game. That's something to go down the road with, to work down the road with. I don't think that we are going to necessarily have that in the first incarnations. And just to be clear, these are the first two decks. These are the first two decks that are being worked on. I know Adam has written content for at least two more decks that are nearly complete. And of course, I've made it very clear to say, as the person running the promotional onto this, well, let's see how the first two decks do. So hopefully everybody watching this and more are going to make this a great Kickstarter and a great launch. And we are going to get enough support that we will continue producing these decks. And these decks will hopefully be available by January 2025, because that's when Fox and Board Games will start appearing as a vendor at conventions. Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo will be the first one, and tentatively TotalCon will be the second one. That would be Philadelphia area and New England. And we will have these decks for sale there, and possibly before that on the website if the Kickstarters are all fulfilled and ready to go. So let's talk a little bit about the Kickstarter. So we have, and again, I wish I could share my screen. I'm so mentally, I'm still worrying in my head over OBS not working, and I'm extremely annoyed by it, but nothing I can do. So it is a 30-day Kickstarter. It will start as soon as I push this launch button that my finger is on right now. It's 30 days. We have a very small ask. Our ask is 2,200 to fund. Decks on their own. I'm going to click the rewards page so I do not misspeak. Deck, an individual deck, including a tuck box for the deck. We are asking $16 a deck. That is greatly reduced from what I would think to sell at retail. Maybe not greatly. It's reduced from retail by a little under 20%. So we're looking like probably 18 to 19, around that for retail. For the reason that, and I'm not afraid to say this, at $16, we are not making much. To produce cards is astronomically expensive unless you're Wizards of the Coast and you're pumping out billions of Magic cards every year. It's much more expensive than what I predicted even when I looked at this a year and a half ago doing some preparatory planning. The supply chain issues, the costs of card production has gone through the roof, and any paper product production. Hardback books, I see people complaining about new hardback game books being $50. Unless you are Wizards of the Coast Hasbro, you are not producing a hardback book for $50 and making any profit on it. And in fact, you'll be making very little per book, if you have to do it at small scale at $50. So we have the two decks that I've just shown you. Now's the commercial part. Two decks I've just shown you, the Underground and the Ancient Woods, which are going to be about 50 to 60 cards each. And they will be they are $16 a piece with a tuck box. Or if you want to buy both from the Kickstarter, they are $30. And I call it the double adventure. Obviously, one is the Ancient Woods, the two intro tiers are the Underground deck or the Ancient card deck. And then the double adventure is both your decks. And as I said, I understand that for popular trading card games, that might seem like a lot per deck, but for a completely independent, self-promoted, self-published, entirely human-designed network, this is not a lot. We will be selling them at retail again, probably for about 20% more than that. So right there is a savings that you can't be beat. So now on to the special tiers. There are two tiers. The limited sign cards, where you get both decks, and our artists and designer have agreed to sign the cards. And there will be your choice. And I think I'm offering something like, let me click on it just to make sure. 5 cards of your choice. So they will sign 5 cards of your choice, and you will get those shipped to you directly from us. Well, from me. But they'll have to go through several people, either in person or through the mail, to get the decks signed and get them back to you once you've backed them. Our final tier is quite a special treat. It is a custom. By the way, the limited sign cards is a limited number of backers. That's going to be limited to 20 backers, just so we don't lose our minds. And to make it special, custom designed card. We will offer you for $250 the opportunity to have a custom card made for you and put into these decks. And that includes the art, that includes the writing, and there are only 10 of those available. And everybody has agreed to do that, and I'm thrilled with that. In fact, I think Adam suggested it, and I said, yeah, okay, that sounds like a fantastic idea. That was a hit with the Trash Sexy Kickstarter. We did have people get custom sign prints and custom character art. And you can have anything you want. I mean, you could have your character put on one of these cards and illustrated by Lisanne. You could have a location that you have in mind. You could have a monster you've always dreamt of creating in an RPG format. We are not going to limit you in terms of what you put on these cards. So those are the basics. Let me scroll through the story, make sure there's nothing. As I said, the Kickstarter, which will go live in a few minutes, is filled with some more demonstration material. It features our lovely trailer, our tarot card like reader trailer that's been floating around the interwebs. And it also talks about the next part, which are the exclusive cards. And that's the fun of this. If you kickstart a card deck at any level, you will get 6 exclusive cards. There are Proud Pegasus. I don't have prints of these, by the way. Mom and Vastu, the Hoarder, a dragon. Festive Cauldron, which is a magic cauldron, an item. A Phoenix Brooch, which is another item. And 2 awesome NPCs. Prosta Territor, who is a I guess a tabaxi, a lion-like, or sorry, a tiger-like feline form, humanoid form, could be a Rakshasa as well, I guess. And again, we're not going to dictate exactly what these NPCs are, how they act in your game. We have Antiacarl, which looks suspiciously like a tiefling, but we won't call her that, or some other kind of water-based, blue-skinned, Nerid Damon sort of figure. The art is really unique. You'll see it when we go live. You may have seen some of it already on social media. We have several stretch goals, $5,000. We will release print and play copies of the first 2 decks. That allows you to download and print copies of the first 2 decks for your personal use, not for resale. At home, and that's if we get $5,000, it will just be these 2 decks, and it will only be available to Kickstarters. 9,000, we'll make 5 extra exclusive cards. At 12,000, we will make 5 more exclusive cards, all of which are only going to be available to Kickstarters. So, if you want to make gold, get everybody to come on out and push that button. When will you get your cards? As I've said, we're shooting for fulfillment throughout January, because by January I want to take the core decks and go to conventions with them and sell them. They will ship from DriveThruRPG. All fulfillment is from DriveThruRPG. Unlike a previous Kickstarter in which I did not realize production costs would be on the buyer, which I corrected as much as I could, that we will pay all production costs. You will pay only shipping. You will pay us shipping, and we will set up bulk shipping once we get a certain number of orders and start sending them out to fulfill them. This is the most effective way for a company of this size to get you cards. If I order from a manufacturer, it will be not much cheaper unless I order like 5,000 decks or something, or 1,000 decks, I think was the minimum. Not only can I not quite just put out 1,000 deck order if I only get 80 pledges to fulfill your cards, I literally don't know where I would even keep these things. I'm working out of a home office right now, as you see. So we will be going through DriveThruRPG. They will mail directly to you. They ship to anywhere in the world. Shipping is on the average $5 to $15 in the UK, pounds in the UK. In the US. UK, Europe, and other international destinations might run more, but they have quite a few shipping outposts throughout the world. I know they have one in Canada. I know they have one in England. So the costs are not generally as much as you would think. I think the trash XC material to print and ship to ship to parts of Europe ran between the local equivalent of about $20. So not an astronomical amount. Small packages. Someone asked me recently what it would charge to have them sent to Johannesburg, South Africa. I said, you have to contact DriveThruRPG. I said, they don't have a listing, and I don't want to misquote you. I don't want to say it'll cost you $20 from the UK when it ends up, or pounds or euros, and where it ends up costing you significantly much more. I'm going to actually correct something right now. Okay, good. So there we are. That's pretty much all the down low on the Kickstarter. and we are getting ready to push the button. It will be available at Kickstarter, projects, Fox and Board Games, Journeys Deck. I will be putting a link to that in the description of this video as well. Obviously, if you like what we're doing, subscribe to the channel. We got several subscribers in the past few days just from advertising this Kickstarter, so that was quite thrilling. We have completed 2 Kickstarters successfully, so we're good for the money. We're not a fly-by-night organization who won't deliver your goods. And let's see, anything else? Digital versions. I've been asked several times, is there going to be an app or a digital version of this product? Maybe. I've talked to several people who do development, and there was interest. We really have to see how this product does first. So, having said all that, thanks to artists and designers who have joined us, thanks to the people who have logged on and have been communicating, such as my friend Neil, or a few people who have also been on lurking. And we are going to push that button right now. Just taking a quick look, making sure everything's in place. It's as place as it's going to be. I'm ready to launch. Fox and Board Games launches the Journeys deck September 3rd. Launching the project. There it goes. So hopefully everybody who watched this and more will go and take a look at this project and will help us fund it and help us produce the Journeys deck. And hopefully Beard426. I wonder if I know who that is. I have Bear426. I know who that is. Lurk. Hello, Bear. Good to see you. So I am thrilled to have it live. We will see what happens. Hopefully this will take off and will be good. And I'm sure no matter what, you will enjoy the Journeys deck, as many of you have already enjoyed quite a bit from Fox and Board Games. Thank you very much for your support. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll let you know how it goes. Keep an eye on our social media. Website, www.foxandboardgames. All social media / or ampersand Fox and Board Games. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, and we may appear on some other platforms in the near future. Have a good night.